You may not realize it, but the very first major communal massacre in modern Gujarat wasn't in 2002. It was in 1969. Hello there, I'm Krishna Patel. You're watching the Fact Flash and welcome to tonight's headliner. Almost nobody remembers it today. That's why we're going on a time travel tonight, back to what a lot of people don't talk about. September 1969, the post-independence optimism was still settling into India's fabric. Yet, underneath, communal anxieties simmered. Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Mehsana, Naryad, Anand, Gondal, all were about to witness an eruption that would sear scars into memory of the state. So on September 26, heats rose into flames. A rumor triggered violence in Ahmedabad, spilling over into neighborhood cities. By the last week of October, the riot was officially over. But for thousands, the pain lived on a far longer. Let's talk numbers. So according to the government records, 660 people were killed, 1,074 were injured, and 48,000 families lost property. Muslims suffered the most, they say. 430 of them were killed. 592 of them were injured, and their losses pegged at 3.2 crores. For context, 4.2 crore in 1969 is equivalent to several hundred crores today. A staggering blow. Some survivors widespread even higher death estimates, up to 2,000, when unreported cases were included. That tells you how much of this remains quietly buried underneath. Now imagine the betrayal. Dalit Hindus living in the very same chaals as Muslim neighbors, waking up one day to find them on the other side of a mob. Homes torched, livelihoods erased. The air, once soaked in shared culture, turned heavy with fear and suspicion. This wasn't a random flare-up. The Justice Reddy Commission, appointed by the CM Hitendra Desai, blamed Hindu nationalist groups for orchestrating much of the violence. Politics and religion in blood-stained strategy. Now here's the twist. This happened 33 years before the infamous 2002 riots, and yet it nearly vanished from public consciousness. No documentaries, no books, no much needed discussed memory. It was as if we hit the delete button on a painful page. History treats loud chaos as newsworthy and silent devastation as something to forget. But trust fractured. Even if the riot faded, entire neighborhoods, they fractured. The auto rickshawalas, the market vendors, the school kids, they all learned to cross city lines they once ignored. Displaced families carried invisible wounds. The real legacy of 1969. It's not gone. It's invisible. We rarely acknowledge it, but politics shifted too. When communal fires burn, they reshape power dynamics. Leaders learned which sides gained when riots erupted, and they structured politics accordingly. India's divide and rule isn't just regrettable, it's time-tried and impactful. What's especially tragic is that the memory hole absorbed it. While 2002 turned into political flashpoint and film, 1969 sat silently in dusty archives. That's why when Gujarat's past is invoked, it starts in 2002. But we lost an earlier opportunity to learn just because we forgot. Now let me share a human story. We spoke with a man whose family, which we cannot disclose the name, but his family fled their house in Naryad in 1969. He was born in 1960. His parents never told him the real reason why they moved out, just that life felt unsafe. That silence shaped him. He grew up visiting Vadodara, calling it home, but feeling like an outsider in safe soil. He's one among thousands, guys, whose childhoods were shaped by a riot that they never witnessed. Visually, imagine burnt rooftops, ash on broken walls, abandoned shows leading nowhere. Imagine how trust once gone is much harder to rebuild in walls. Contrast this with today's bustling Gujarat. Palaces, malls, tractors, startups, cultural festivals all bloom. but beneath glittering surfaces, that layer of neglect, it remains. And it's that historical erasure that keeps the cycle alive. What if we remembered? Just imagine for a second. What if we remembered? What if schools taught it? Museums displayed victims' photos. What if 1969 was acknowledged not to inflame, but to remind? Because solidarity doesn't begin with a clap, it begins with truth, and truth in Gujarat starts long before 2002. It starts in 1969. It's smelled, it's crotched, it's silence. Let's leave the story not with despair but with resolve. Remembering is the first step towards healing, and healing begins when we say the year out loud, 1969.